and welcome to Rotted Reviews, and today we're taking a big detour because we're not looking at a horror movie at all. Instead, we're looking at a dark comedy from the year 2000 recommended by Patron Jaki, who wanted me to take a look at the movie Drowning Mona. Hey, with these rotted requests, I'm not the one steering the ship. I let them do it. And in this case, Jackie mentions that the reason she chose Drowning Mona is, as a teen, this was one of my most beloved films. It wasn't very well known when it was released, but I think I'd like to get it on people's radar again. Fair enough. This is one where I was very acutely aware of its existence, but had never actually gotten around to watching it until Jackie recommended it. And I think one of the reasons that it was on my radar as at least being in existence is because of how stellar a cast it has. I mean, Danny DeVito, Bette Midler, Jamie Lee Curtis, William Fichtner, Will Ferrell, the list goes on and on. Written by Peter Steinfeld and directed by Nick Gomez, this follows the character of Mona, played by Bette Midler, as she drives off a cliff and dies in the beginning few minutes of the movie. The rest of the movie kind of takes place with the investigation as to what actually happened, who knew her, did any circumstances lead up to her death nefarious or accidental, so on and so forth, as Danny DeVito plays the town sheriff in making this investigation happen. And as we backtrack in time and go through people's stories Rashomon style, we also get the forward narrative as people are panicking with this investigation, trying to cover up tracks and ultimately furthering things along. So as the description and the title might imply, this is indeed a dark comedy from the year 2000. Year 2000 was an interesting time for comedies. We mostly had kind of teen romps. We had Scary Movie, Road Trip, Dude, Where's My Car? We also did have some odd outliers with some decent writing among them. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Snatch, Nurse Betty, so on and so forth. So where does Drowning Mona land for me? Well, that kind of depends on what lens I'm looking at it through. There were a lot of clever elements to this, and all the characters were interesting. Kind of slapsticky, but interesting. The fact that this town was built on the heels of a Yugo plant, which has since shuttered, so everybody, including the sheriff, is driving around in an old Yugo. It's one of those things that just kind of adds that little bit of extra punch to the aesthetic of the film. As a comedy, I found that this worked just. I thought it was funny, I thought it was cute, it was clever in places, but there were some elements that were kind of holding it back. As far as a whodunit, it worked, but only just. There were elements of it that were well fleshed out. The mystery was interesting. The different character dynamics of telling the same story from each different angle was interesting, and like again, in that's Rashomon fashion. But at the same time, it kind of revealed itself after a while, and up until that point, it really was giving enough clues to be anybody's guess, with a certain degree of logic following whatever path you may choose. And then, it just kind of, well, here it is. It didn't really wait for the end to have any kind of big climactic knives out detective reveal or anything. It just kind of eased into a sputtering of the answer 2/3 of the way through. And if it was a red herring, okay, fine, maybe. But, at the very least, it took the wind out of its own sails in a kind of an odd fashion. As far as a character story, it worked just. The characters I thought were quirky and interesting. It worked well for a comedy. Will Ferrell had a small but absolutely unforgettable role. William Fichtner was perfect in his role, but I gotta say that in my opinion, the Casey Affleck character of Bobby, which was a really big character in this movie, was, I don't know about miscast, but it just didn't work for me at all. The milquetoast apprehensive nature of this character, it maybe served the narrative fairly well, but the performance was so irritating and annoying to me that I kind of just wanted bad things to happen to him. Really was kind of just pensiveness personified, and in that I just wanted to slap him around. And it didn't serve things terribly well to have all the characters in this movie be pieces of shit, and they all were pieces of shit. Only one or two actually weren't. I'm using the word all pretty loosely there, but even so, most everybody was a pretty big piece of shit. So in terms of who we're supposed to follow, who we're supposed to rally behind, who's our protagonist, it kind of got a little bit lost in that regard. So again, as a character study for a dark comedy, yeah, it worked. just. This may be an instance of a movie that was possibly actually trying to be a little bit too quirky for its own good, and maybe could have just been a little bit more grounded for a little bit better effect, but at the same time, I did find myself enjoying it. I don't know. I think that there were dark comedies that I found myself enjoying way more that actually kind of even were a little more slapsticky. I don't know. Movies like Death to Smoochy, I think, was kind of, I don't know. They seem like close kin cousins kind of thing, but at the same time, I really enjoyed Death to Smoochy a significant amount more than Drowning Mona, but I'm not going to say that I dislike Drowning Mona, not in the slightest. I agree with Jackie. I do think that more people should watch this. If it's a movie that can kind of get a resurgence or revitalization, get brought back into the public discourse, then I would be all about that. I don't think it was a great movie, but I do think it was worthy of having been seen by more people than it was. So thank you very much, Jackie, for recommending Drowning Mona to me, and thank you for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed it. Remember, next time you want to watch a comedy, first make sure that it's good and rotted.